past 11:30. So theoretically, we could start this.
Yes.
Four of you, you have quorum.
All right, well, I would like to,
Oh, there are three of you, but you could make
all
Paula a member of
right,
the
I would like to
committee.
call to order the DuPage County Legislative Committee meeting for Tuesday, June 11th.
I'll make a motion to make Paul a member of the committee.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay,
Now you
roll
don't
call
need
Now
please.
you, now you
Now
don't.
you don't need me.
No, right after, while we were sitting here, you were poking around.
Here comes everybody.
Wow, we gotta. I bring my phone. I don't even know who's on this committee.
Whenever you're ready, roll call
All right,
please.
Member Chaplin?
Here.
Member Childress? Chair Desart?
Here.
Member Akka? Member Galassi?
Here.
Member Zay?
Here.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum. Joe, do we have Mark Polis on the line?
Nope.
Not yet? Okay, well, Chip, I saw him. He's here in
He's
person.
here.
But in the meantime, I will move to approve the minutes of 24/13/69, the legislative minutes from the regular meeting on Tuesday, March 26th, 2024. I moved second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. And I move to approve 24/13/68, the joint judicial and public safety and legislative minutes, the special call meeting from Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank you so much. Do we have any public comments? No. No public comments. All right, thank you. I don't have any specific chair remarks because I made the chair remarks during county board today. So we will move right into the introduction of our guest. Chip Hume is our Springfield lobbyist. Welcome, Chip. Thank you for coming in person. I appreciate it. And we're expecting Mark Polis from England to zoom in. Let me know.
Chairman, I think he's in transit. I talked to him this morning.
Oh,
I believe he's on an airplane.
okay. I saw him at an event.
I told him not to worry
Oh,
about it.
yeah, I told him not to worry about it too. And he said, no, 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 I'll
Yeah.
be there. So we're gonna get all of our information, I guess, with Chip today, which is wonderful, perfect. Chip, do you have a copy of our legislative agenda? So you can maybe talk about any big things that happened. What I would like is kind of a barometer reading of how we did in
Sure.
Springfield this
So I will,
period. So I will pass it on to you.
thank you. And thank you for having me today. Thank you all for being here. Yeah, I'll kind of give you just like a brief overview, go down to some DuPage specific things that we were working on, and then happy to take any questions on any initiatives. I'm fairly familiar with that legislative, the packet, obviously it's not right in front of me, but I will do my best. So your remarks in county board were spot on, passed the $53 billion budget, somewhat theatrically, as we typically do here in Illinois. Session is usually scheduled right up until midnight on June 1st, so it goes usually through the night. This year, they decided to have a scheduled adjournment date of the Friday before. Date escapes me a little bit. Time is relative in Springfield. Needless to say, we didn't hold true to it. Senate was in an extra day, adjourned around 11 o'clock at night, sent the budget vehicles over to the House. House took Memorial Day off, came back the Tuesday after Memorial Day, we're in for about 16 hours until they finally passed the budget package, which is the actual appropriation vehicle, the VIMP, which is the implementation portion, and this year had a revenue bill included for that budget. They passed those things around 4:30, I think, in the morning. I guess that was Wednesday, which threw me off for about the rest of the week. I had no idea what day it was or what time it was or what was happening. So they did get it done, passed a purported balanced budget. I guess that is all in the eye of the beholder, right? But multiple years in a row, balanced budget and a number of upgrades. The governor was very proud of the number of upgrades for credit agencies. Session-wide, from a DuPage perspective, I think we overall did fairly well. Most importantly to us was our initiative this year, which was the impact fee, our ability to transfer the money out of the impact fee fund somewhere, Cheryl, correct me if I'm wrong, around $5 million into what I believe is our transportation gas tax fund to use for capacity improvements. That, I'm very proud to tell everyone at this table, was a bipartisan approach, run by Representative Tara Costa Howard in the House, but joined with every other member of the DuPage delegation on that bill in the House. When that bill moved to the Senate, Senator Seth Lewis carried it, was joined by Senator Susie Glowiak Hilton, Senator Laura Ellman, and I believe also Senator Karina Villa joined on that bill as well. So that passed the Wednesday before the end of session. So that was one thing off my list. So a big win for us this year. Not off the top of my head.
I
Mr.
got it
Chair.
by the
I'll get you
session
in one
report.
second. 50, possible 55 something. I should know it.
5 something.
But all the numbers.
Do you
and
have
the
all
dates.
the bills memorized?
I can tell you what they do. The numbers,
I
I
know.
may
The
transpose a number or
Transpose in my
two.
head.
But that's what this trusty iPhone is
Exactly.
helpful for. Probably, so equally as important are the issues that we worked on that didn't end up passing this session. Two fairly, I would say controversial issues for us. Number one was the public defender bill. Obviously, I spoke to most of you the last, easy for me to say, sorry, the last joint JPS legislative committee hearing. With Jeff York, we were very, very active on that piece of legislation. Again, when it was filed, it was more of a introductory bill that would have created funding for the study. So, you know, our approach to it was not really kind of hellfire and brimstone. It was a little more strategic because we were still in the intro phase. Had excellent conversations with leadership in both chambers, both caucuses. And I think our position has been pretty well articulated.
Yeah.
That's something I think that'll be continued to work on over the summer. I know there was a late bill filed by, I think, the Public Defenders Association and the Northwestern Group that was kind of an affront to the initial legislation. But I think that's going to be something worked on with the AOIC probably over the summer. But we'll keep very close to that.
Good. I've been told by Jeff York and others that it's not anything to worry about now. That's just kind of informational. But if anybody wants to take a deeper dive into it, on Friday, ISACO's Justice and Public Safety Policy Committee is meeting via Zoom at 2:00. Again, that's Friday via Zoom. If you're interested in joining, and that's going to be the topic of conversation, this public defender thing that's not even a bill yet. So if you'd like information on it, I can't send it out because then I would, wreck OMA, but you can certainly ask Cheryl for the Zoom, 2:00 via Zoom.
Yeah, and Madam
And-
Chair,
There a link in there?
Yeah, Cheryl, could you get out a link to that in case other people want to join it? Or do you want me to send you the link or do you have it?
I can get it from Joe, don't worry about it.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so the subject matter for that 2:00 Zoom is House Bill 5842, State Public Defender. But I think that we've kind of beaten this thing to death. What?
Give those numbers again.
Okay, 5842, State Public Defender Policy.
maybe not quite to death, but it's definitely within an inch of its life. But I
You know
think.
what? I can
Yeah,
copy,
still
and make
alive.
another copy of that.
And I think though, Madam Chair, these issues are important for us to
You may
kind of
have it.
continue our messaging throughout the summer,
Right.
right? And because if this were to be enacted in the level that they described it, it would have an incredibly detrimental impact on the folks that are served by the Public Defender's Office in this county. And I certainly don't think that's the intention of the AOIC. But it's just one of those things we'll keep on. And I will say, give a shout out to ISACO. They were a great partner in this. And they have been great partners.
And a
throughout
shout out
this
to
time.
you too, Shiv, because I think you've let them know how we feel about this very, very clearly. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. Second issue didn't come to fruition. We were very involved in was the attempt to kind of statewide regulate the migrant bus situation. And forgive me, the bill number off the top of my head, but that was an issue I think, the essentially IML was trying to get non-home rule municipalities home rule authority in this very narrow scope of the buses. And I think it was just one of those issues where the devil was completely in the details. And, having this set up very well, I will say, you have all done a wonderful job mitigating the situation or managing the situation is a better term. You probably didn't need a statute to amend that at all, but. So those are the two biggest issues we were involved in that didn't move. We were not unhappy about that. And then Madam Chair, if I may, before I will happily take any questions. This will be probably my last legislative committee that I get to share with Cheryl. So I just wanted to go on record really quickly with everyone and say how much I appreciate working for you. Cheryl had she's had I'd say pleasure, but I don't think it was. To sometimes interact with me, probably more than she interacted with her own family. We've been through some pretty significant issues together, small cell wireless. I think Cheryl probably and I spoke maybe 5, 6, 7 times a day, and we were in all summer, working through it. But I've learned an incredible amount from you in terms of how the county operates and their priorities and what we can and can't live with. And it's been a pleasure. So I just want to say thank you
You too.
very much.
And let me join that because we're in this conversation now, but Cheryl, you have been amazing. Nights, weekends, you're emailing me and calling me, and thank you so much for all of your service for all of these years. And then we transition. And I hope to see all of you at the retirement parties. And while we transition, we now welcome Jeremy Custer. He is our new senior advisor. He'll be joining us for the legislative committee. He and I are going to be new best friends. You better be available nights and weekends like Cheryl was. He'll also be strategic.
You want them to keep the position.
Strategic Planning, Animal Services, Diversity, Inclusion, and Ethics Commission. So welcome, Jeremy. It's
Thank you all.
lovely to have you here. Okay.
Talked to everyone so far.
And Madam Chair, Mark Polis, I'm on. Sorry, I joined a little late. I was caught on a plane.
Well, boy.
Well, thank you for
Good job.
joining us.
Good job, Chip.
So you heard Chip. Do you have anything else to add before we open it up to questions?
I don't, no. Chip did a great job, and yet we will miss Cheryl and welcome Jeremy, of course.
I really would like to make a motion not to let Cheryl retire.
We're gonna get you on
I
that.
think Cheryl would
There's a
probably.
host
I
of
know.
constitutional concerns with that.
All right, let's open it up to questions for Mark or for Chip. Thank you so much for your presentation. I appreciate it. Member Zay, Vice Chair
Softballs
Zay.
only, Jim.
Yeah, no, I just was concerned. What was the thinking on the clerk's bill? I mean, we didn't know anything about it till it came up on the county board floor. I mean, what was the thinking behind it? We thought we had legal precedent on this. Why do we have to go down to Springfield? And honestly, I think made it almost look like we didn't have legal precedent on it. And now it has a January 1st date, which I don't have much hope that they're gonna follow that until January 1st. I really don't. I think we're gonna go through this whole election status quo, what's going on. So I just wondered where it came out of and what was the thinking on that? Since none of us really knew, I don't know if you knew about it, none of us knew
No.
about it, and we're the legislative committee.
That was for me.
Yeah. Mark's in a foreign country. He's gonna see
Yeah.
us. He's gonna pretend that all went out.
So, that is obviously a massive procurement omnibus bill. And there were probably 15 or more changes to the procurement code in there. So I can't really go through the thought process through it, but I can tell you that we communicated with leadership. I communicated with leadership in both chambers, our situation, our concerns.
All right, Chip, you were tiptoeing around this and I can
Yeah,
tell
did
you
it come from the
tiptoeing
chair
around
and the
it.
state's attorney? Where did it
And,
come?
but it's in the omnibus bill under 39, number 39. And I'm sure that our representatives didn't have time to read that last minute omnibus bill all the way down to page 39 to really know what was in it. So specific to member Vice Chair Zay's question, where did it come from? Obviously, it had to start in DuPage County. So when did you get involved? When did you know about it? Where did it come from?
I saw the language in the bill at the same time everyone else did when it was filed, but like I said, we had conversations with leadership in both chambers, the Speaker and the Senate President, about our issue. And that it was a massive concern for us that there was some contention that the language which we believed and our attorneys believed was clear was not. So,
It was not clear.
yeah, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't really speak to that other than, what I was told.
Okay, well, I just wondered that's all.
All right, other questions?
And Cheryl, congratulations. We've known each other a long time.
Yeah,
Long
when I
time.
worked for Lee.
When you worked for Lee and I was pushing my Jimmy around in a
I don't
stroller
think
at
we
a
were
parade.
married yet when I met you.
Oh, that's not saying, that's how long.
Very long time.
It's about
30 years, maybe?
34 years.
And my first bill here, of course, I was here 2 weeks. And I'm in a meeting, Chairman Schulstrom, the only woman in the room, of course. And he's like, I'm taking over the Water Commission. What? Mayors are my friends. What are you talking about? And we spent the next couple of months in Springfield, and that was stressful. That was stressful. And I think what came out of it, our municipalities didn't talk to us for years. I mean, we had a non-existent relationship with our municipalities, which is why in 2005, my counterpart and I at DuPage Mayors and Managers actually established the intergovernmental committee. And our first meeting was in 3500B. There were 6 mayors, 6 county board, and they all stared at each other and no one said a word. They wouldn't even talk to each other. And so Mark Beloga and I were like, hi, what you have for dinner tonight? Like, we were just talking because we were so uncomfortable, and then the meeting adjourned, and I'm like, well, that was a good start. So we've since evolved, and the committee is great now. And the reason the committee's there is that if we ever face something like that again, there's a mechanism for you guys to get to know mayors outside of your district, get to know each other, and have that relationship piece.
It's a great committee.
So yeah, that was my first bill. I've had some scars ever since. Verbal abuse.
Other
You
questions?
say Bill Murphy, she'll go into a shock.
He's tried to make up with me. I'm like, I'm not talking to you. I'm never talking to you again.
Other questions from the committee? Okay, I have a question. As Cheryl transitions out and Jeremy transitions in, here's my question for our lobbyists. Do you think our county legislative agenda is too aggressive or not aggressive enough? I mean, I know that DuPage County is watched by, there are 102 counties in Illinois, and we're one of the few who have, I think you sent me that data, but one of the few that actually have lobbyists. So people watch us, DuPage County, for what we embrace or
There's a
don't.
pretty good amount
embrace.
of counties that have lobbyists. I just think you have the best.
I know. But anyway, is our agenda, should we be working in these months before the fall session on a more aggressive agenda?
So obviously I work for all of you and Cheryl and now Jeremy. So I will just give you my opinion and whatever.
That's what I'm asking for.
Whatever, you know, you are all elected members of the county board. You know how you want the board to look, and that whatever that is, that's what we'll do, right? But I think there's a couple things. Number one, you're right. We are viewed very highly because we're very protective of our political capital, and you all run a great county. It's run well, right? So those two things we're viewed very high, and we're very strategic about that. So I think in terms of aggression of the agenda, I don't think there's any problem with having an aggressive legislative agenda, but I think there's a difference between things that we run as our own legislation that we are the spearhead of and versus things that we support or oppose, right? And it's a delicate balance for you all, because when we run something, it largely should be DuPage specific. And that's how we preserve our political capital,
Right.
that we're not coming down like other counties and filing 20 bills and trying to pass 2. So the due diligence on the front end and the fact that it is truly DuPage specific, I think is very important. You know, kind of sidestepping, you know, it is up to you all collectively what you support and don't support in Springfield in terms of whatever issue it is. If you find it's important to the county, even for a sliver, you know, there's no reason we can't be on record supporting those things. I mean, Cheryl sends me the list. We slip bills all
Yeah.
week throughout the session as long
You know,
as
and
we
you bring
can.
up a great point. As Cheryl has said, since I was chair of this committee, the more we ask for, the more we dilute the important things.
Correct.
So we don't want to do that either.
Correct. Yeah. So I think, you know, I think it's a twofold approach, right? If you, on the support or opposed side, you can be kind of as aggressive as you want to be. And then when it comes to actually running legislation, you know, it's very difficult to get a bill enacted into law. It's very easy to file one. But, you know, when you look at 9,000 bills that are introduced every session and 700 pass, you know, I mean, there's a reason, right? So that's my only advice, just from being here for a few years, is try to separate those two thought processes, which is unfortunately more work for you all in the committee, but, you know, that's kind of my only 2 cents. And Jeremy,
And I think
obviously, I
too,
defer.
And Chip's right, and we gotta focus first on like 4 county government issues: transportation, public works.
Right.
You know, when I start going through the bills, anything with sewage, public works, goes to Sean Reese. What does this do to us? What does this do to us? And he tells me, you know, stormwater, Sarah, Jim Zane, and it's getting that input that helps me. That being said, domestic violence is very important to remember you. And that's do we do that? We have a court system, yes, but it's important to her. But at the same time, getting Karina bills passed, I can't, because it didn't pass, it's not Chip's fault. You can't hold him to that. It's a larger discussion of guns, and that's way beyond one county's control. So you can't really benchmark a lobbyist. Like for mental health, we had mental health on there. We got a few psychiatric Medicaid rates increase, but we didn't get more. We got I think a couple 100,000 more for the CRC and capital. But again, mental health, what's your goal? I mean, there's so many, is it scholarships for, more individuals to get into the field? I mean, there's 100 different things. So I know years ago, they used to say, well, you didn't accomplish all your goals. Yeah, but some of the goals are beyond
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So you've got to look at, the impact fee. I was all, oh, Chip, we gotta pass it, we gotta pass it, we gotta pass it. And it wasn't that easy to pass. You would think it would be. And it's not. It's really hard. 15% of the bills move this year. So you got to keep that in mind. And you also have to keep in mind, he kills more stuff than we pass. Because every year there's a bill to undo the puppy mill. We don't want to deal with Brian again. Like, I can't do this anymore, but we put so much into it because it does impact our animal shelter, right? So we're always killing bills that are trying to take revenue or diminish your authority. So he spends a lot of time on that, and you don't always see that. So, I mean, I know, and Jeremy will know how effective they are, how hard they work. Chair Conroy is very involved because she was down there 10 years and she has got a lot of goodwill, and that's going to benefit this county.
For sure.
But you're right. We always say, go to the well. Go to the well once or twice a year, and it's got to be big, right? But that doesn't mean you can't support other issues. And there's lobby and there's lobby. You can slip 100 bills if you want to, but you can really only lobby a handful because you got to have priorities.
So in that spirit, let me ask you, Mark, what are your successes this spring session? What would you identify as?
Well, impact fee was one of the successes. I think that was a collection of successes. And I would say too, that one of the major successes is appropriations and reappropriations. So, one of our jobs is to make sure that we're bringing home the bacon to DuPage. And, I think at least since we've been involved, that we've been doing that. We had two large reappropriations that we had to make sure that, made its way back through. There was one of about a $10 million, another was about a $14.5 million. That was for the wastewater treatment plant work. One of those is in the works right now. And then our other job outside of just the legislative process is to make sure that happens, right? So, we assisted over the last year shepherding through that first piece of the, $10+ million for the wastewater treatment plant. Our next job is to make sure that the next piece, I think it's the electrical upgrades, that happens. Not only did I went through and double checked all the reappropriations. I believe they're all still there. We did get some additional appropriations as well in that. And then in addition to that, there's $400 million in additional money that'll be doled out by the Department of Transportation. So we've got a meeting with them in July to figure out what that process looks like and how DuPage County can capture portions of that $400 million as well. So I would say those two, and then also the you mentioned transportation, the mass transit, right? So Metro is DuPage County population is largely dependent still on the Metro system. And I think, we play a vital role, both Chip and I and Dave and others, at making sure that things are done right, that DuPage County is still well represented, and that we continue to get the funding to make sure that, we have that service in DuPage County. So I would say those would be the major accomplishments. There's a number of other bills that did pass. I went through the entire list of, kind of sort of what I would say was an aggressive agenda. There was like a battery stewardship was one thing that we were following. That passed. There was a number of other ones as well. But I would say those are the major things of accomplishments this session.
And Madam Chair, just to key on that, Mark and Dave have been so laser focused on capital for us. This was a difficult session to get projects reappropriated because there was a goal to give members additional capital. And as they went through there to find the capital, they ended up cutting old capital. So Mark is not taking quite enough credit for how hard he had to work to get all those things reappropriated.
And segueing, Chip, from that, what are the things that you're seeing for the fall session that we should be really looking out for? And I know that we don't, at the county, we don't really focus on specific bills. We focus more on generalities, but what do you see that we should focus on for the fall?
So I think the major things are, we have to keep our eyes open for that public defender issue. I don't think it's gone. Whether it comes back at whatever level is too early to predict, but we have to keep our finger on that. And then I think, Mark touched on the RTA issue. There was a couple bills filed this session to essentially dissolve the RTA and its subsequent boards into one parent board. Now, that's very, very early, and I'm sure Mark knows more about this than I do, but we've had meetings with the Senate Transportation Chair, Ron Villabom. He's a good friend, and made our position very clear that the way that initial bill was drafted essentially all but eliminates our representation on that board. So that's going to be a major issue that's going to continue over the summer in discussions. We're going to make sure that we're at every table for every discussion to protect our interests. Because at the end of the day, there's a $730 odd million fiscal cliff coming for the Chicago Transit Agency. You can make a million arguments as to why, but regardless, it's going to have to be addressed at some level. And, we just want to make sure that we're at the table for that, so we don't end up, quite frankly, footing the bill. So those are, I think, the main issues over the summer. Obviously, it's political season, so we'll see what happens. But I think those are the major issues. And they just came out with veto session dates. They're the 2 weeks prior to Thanksgiving.
I shot the calendar around to the committee.
Oh, did you? Okay, great. Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, they just came out this morning.
Oh, did you send it by
I know
email?
you guys should have received it, so
Well, we were busy in a meeting.
I know you were, so, but I got it and sent it out.
Mark, you heard Chip, do you foresee what should we be watching for the fall session that maybe Chip didn't mention? Is there anything else that you can add?
So they just actually scheduled today, veto session got scheduled today. It is the 2 weeks prior to Thanksgiving. So 3 days, the 3 days before Thanksgiving and then 3 days the week before that, the House aligned with that as well. And then only the House put a calendar out for lame duck right now, which is January 2nd through the 7th, and inauguration is on the 8th. So there are a number of days, fortunately or unfortunately, to get things done or not get things done. We do anticipate a number of hearings over the summer and the fall on this RTA issue and transit issue that we anticipate, was going to take us all the way through to either veto session or lame duck. And if we're talking about, revenue enhancers to pay for this, that is likely to happen in veto or lame duck, not carry over to the following session. So I think that's probably our number one issue for DuPage going into the fall.
Thank you. I can't be the only one with questions. Any other questions? All right, Mark, thank you so much. Safe travels to you.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Chip, thank you so much for coming in person.
My
It's so
pleasure.
nice to see you. And we'd like to have you back maybe before the fall session, actually, to
Sure.
give us an update.
Sure.
Cheryl, you are gonna be missed beyond.
Yes, you
Got some
are.
surprising for your
Yes.
retirement party, so,
Thank you.
and welcome, Jeremy. It's good to see you.
Maybe here.
Yeah. All right, so do we have any old business? Any new business? All right, without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.